Boone County Board meeting to order at 6:35. We will start with the Pledge of Allegiance and then remain standing for an invocation by Ms. Milner. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Carl, for allowing me to deliver the invocation tonight. It is my honor tonight to represent the non-religious people of Boone County with this invocation. Those we serve and those around us today include people of different cultures and races. We come from different levels of financial stability and backgrounds. We vary in physical and cognitive abilities, and we speak many languages. We include people of many faiths and non-faith perspectives. But while we are diverse, we are united in our common humanity. The deliberations in this chamber are often of the highest importance to the people of Boone County as we work together towards solutions that address challenges facing our county. May we have fortitude to make difficult choices while holding the needs of our diverse public at the forefront of our decisions. May our leadership be guided by integrity and compassion to uplift all people today and every day. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next up, roll call, please.
Carl Johnson.
Here.
Sherry Branson.
Here.
Jeff Carlisle. Denny Ellingson.
Here.
Sherry Gieske.
Here.
Carl Larson.
Here.
Ray Larson.
Here.
Jessica Milner.
Here.
Marshall Newhouse.
Here.
Bernard O'Malley.
Here.
Brad Stark. Kathy Ward.
Here.
As a note for board members, Mr. Stark informed me that he would be running just a little behind schedule, so he'll be here shortly to join us. And Mr. Carlisle is attending to other matters this evening, so he will not be joining us. Next up, I'd accept a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Newhouse.
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Gieske. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I'd accept a motion to approve the July 31st and the August 15th County Board meeting minutes. Motion by Ms. Branson.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Carl Larson. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next up, I would accept a motion to approve the appointments. We have 3 appointments.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Ms. Milner, seconded by Mr. O'Malley. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Public comment. Is there anybody in the public that would like to address the board for any reason at all? Seeing none. Reports from agencies. Council on Aging.
I was not here when they met the other night, so no report.
Thank you, sir. Growth Dimensions.
Thank you. Sorry. Time delay. Good evening. I wanted to share a few good stories that we have today. Well, our enterprise zones are continually growing. In 2018, we have 21 businesses that are using the enterprise zone benefits. We have $2.9 million that have invested in construction materials thus far, and we've had over $7.6 million in capital investments. We have one project that we're currently, that we just submitted called Project Orion. It's a company that's seeking 120 acres of greenfield to build about 1.5 million square foot state-of-the-art distribution center. So this could bring a total of 50 to 100 jobs in our area. If we're successful, we would have operation, they would set operation in 2021. To date, we have 11 projects that we've submitted for new businesses. We have had one project win, and we have 4 that are still active. We've also have some good news that Magna tomorrow will be receiving an EDI Award. The EDI Award is an award recognizing significant economic impact in the state of Illinois, and it's sponsored by Commonwealth Edison, but it's provided through the Illinois Chamber of Commerce. So they'll be receiving that award tomorrow in Chicago. So we're looking forward to sharing some of that, some of those pictures and those good news. We've also, Growth Dimensions has also participated in the U.S.-Japan Midwest Conference in September. Their message primarily was, we need to work out an agreement with the trade. This is very costly for them to send steel to and from, in and outside the U.S. And also they like to see us develop some more solutions with building a workforce with our youth. So having a skilled workforce is very important, and they are looking at some of the programs that we have starting in high school. We've also participated in the Chicagoland Retail Connection in August, as well as the International Manufacturing Technology Show. We also hosted a meeting with Intersect Illinois and the Department of Commerce and Community Affairs. They presented to our leadership in Boone County in August, and they shared their priorities, their impact, and how the region can participate and be a significant player for new investments. They can be a source for us for data, connections, and guidance on how we can better position ourselves for new companies. We've also partnered quite a bit with the District 100 K through 12 program. We're helping them with their Pathways program and their endorsement areas. We're helping them identify businesses in order to speak to, in order to help them with their curriculum development. We're also working on developing a manufacturing day, or actually it's going to be over a period of a couple of weeks, in which the youth are going to be able to be on site to visit the company, get maybe some hands-on opportunities, and be able to ask questions of the business and learn more, and be better connected with what manufacturing is looking for today. We're also working with them on some potential video production. They have a number of programs that are focusing on journalism and video and history, and this is a way that students can actually apply some of those skills in the workplace. So we're working with them in order to utilize those skills and help us further our economic attention to our area and showcase our assets. I do want to identify that the Foreign Trade Zone has a new administrator. Previously was provided by the Rockford Area Economic Development Council. Boone County is qualified and eligible to receive, or the businesses in the area are eligible to receive foreign trade investments. This is a great investment for some companies. We do have one company utilizing those benefits. But they can contact Growth Dimensions or Zethmeyer LLC to administer the foreign trade zone. So we'll be trying to share that information and the qualifications out to businesses as we move forward. Is there any questions?
Questions for Growth Dimensions? Mr. O'Malley.
I just have one. Wouldn't it make sense for this country to take away the tariffs for projects that help our economy with growth of factories and investment?
Yes, because
That'd be something that would be good to move up the line, because you need to direct the monies in the right directions. And if we don't have any direction to this stuff, we're really not going to get anywhere.
Magna had recently shared with our elected officials that their products go in and outside the country multiple times. So this is a cost to them each time it goes in and out of the country. Whether not to be in Mexico, Canada, Japan, this is a tremendous expense for them. And it does hurt our ability to attract these businesses.
Any further discussion? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next up, CASA. Charlotte?
Hello.
So it has been a crazy couple of weeks. We've been very busy with events in our area. We had our Cars and Coffee for Casa event on August 25th and raised triple what we had made last year. It was only the second year that we've done it, so that's promising. Then, of course, we had our celebrity roast last week. I believe it was last week. And that was interesting, but it went well and it was successful. And then we were invited to participate in Cherry Valley Landscape Center's fall open house the next day, and we grilled out there and received donations through that. And then last night, Blackhawk Bank had their had a chamber event, and we were the beneficiary of the 50/50 draft drawing raffle, combining those words. But so we've had some time out in the community, and we're very thankful for everybody who participated and attended all those events. We do have some other ones coming up. We are doing a screening for Minding the Gap. I'm not sure if you are familiar with the Minding the Gap film that was made in Rockford. It is a story that follows 3 young men who grew up in abusive homes and dealt with domestic violence, and how that affects their relationships as they're getting older. And it's a great film. So that is on September 25th at 6:30 at the community building, and we invite you all to attend. If you are planning on attending, I do ask that you contact me at the CASA office to let me know. And then our Applebee's Flapjack fundraiser is October 6th. Tickets are $5 a piece. That goes from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. For those, and we do have tickets available, once again, through the CASA office. And the Ida Public Library is collecting Halloween costumes for our little ones. So if you have any new or gently used Halloween costumes, they are collecting those, and we'll get them to us so we can give them to the little ones in our community as well. We did close a couple of cases, but unfortunately we opened a couple of cases as well. So we are currently serving 41 kids in our area. We have 22 advocates, with 20 of them having cases at the moment.
Questions for Charlotte? Thank you very much. Next up is Board of Health.
Good evening, County Board and members of the public. I'm Amanda with the Boone County Health Department. Just going to hit a few highlights because we've been pretty busy as always. So in working towards our public health accreditation board process to achieve national accreditation, as many of you have noticed, we've reworked our Board of Health report to reflect the 12 domains in which we are organizing and developing work within our department and also in the community. So domain 1 is to monitor health, and the update in that domain is that our Illinois Plan for Local Area Needs, our I-Plan, is officially finished. I did allude to that last month. Our Board of Health did pass that on September 4th, and I was asked to present at the Illinois Public Health Association's 77th Annual Conference in Springfield on September 7th in regards to the merger of our I-Plan process with the Boone County Comprehensive Planning process, because that is something new and innovative that is happening here that the rest of the public health community in Illinois wanted to learn more about. So I did give a presentation at that conference, went extremely well. Last evening I was present for the Planning Commission meeting, and I did give them an update too on our I-Plan and some of the work that we've been doing to crosswalk the two plans together. So we are now just waiting on the state of Illinois to officially approve the I-Plan, so it's at the Illinois Department of Public Health, and then we'll be ready to begin our action cycle, which is where the real work begins. That's when we develop our community health improvement plan using the recommendations in the I-Plan as our strategic blueprint for the next 5 years for community health. So I don't know, Ken, did you want to add anything about the comprehensive plan process and how we've been merging the two together?
Sure. Last evening at the Planning Commission, Amanda and I updated the Planning Commission about the I-Plan and also about the county's comprehensive plan, which I think you should be aware that the Planning Commission at the previous meeting extended the time frame for public comment to the end of October. And also they talked about last night having a joint public meeting with the health department to present both plans to the public for their feedback. And we're looking for a November date to have that meeting. So we will be keeping everyone informed, but it's an exciting opportunity to have both plans sort of presented together. Even though one has been adopted by the Board of Health, it still ties into the comprehensive plan.
Great. So that's domain 1. Domain 2 is diagnose and investigate. We've been extremely busy this summer with our West Nile virus tracking and surveillance program. In Illinois, there have been 68 positive West Nile virus counties, and that was an update as of an email I received today. 63 human cases, 247 birds tested, and 15,543 batches of mosquitoes. That's a lot of mosquito parts. So there's been a lot of testing going on and a lot of West Nile virus activity. As you all have noticed, the mosquitoes have been pretty intense over the last week or so. I haven't even been able to get out and water my flowers without getting eaten alive. So the health department is working pretty hard to stay on top of where we're seeing the West Nile virus in the county. And we've identified all 4 of our traps that are located both in the northern section of the county and then also here in the greater Belvidere area have tested positive multiple times at this point. So we're keeping an eye on that. We're also working on a multi-state hepatitis A response process. We're going to be part of the first wave of health departments that receives some free hepatitis A vaccine from the CDC to target our homeless and our MSM population here in Boone County. It can sometimes be hard to locate those individuals and get them vaccinated. They are at the highest risk based on the current outbreaks that are happening across the Midwest. So we'll be working on that. And we're still continuing to offer Narcan trainings. We have another Narcan training scheduled for September 25th at 3 p.m. And then there's going to be a Train the Trainer workshop that Sinisippi Centers will be offering here in this boardroom on October 16th at 9:30. So that will give organizations that would like to become trained to provide the trainings here in our community the opportunity to receive a box of kits and the proper materials and presentation, PowerPoint materials to be able to offer those trainings themselves. So we're taking it to another step here and wanting to partner a little bit more with that initiative with Sinisippi Centers. Our Behavioral Health Task Force, which was formed in April of 2017, is almost finished with our final draft of a needs assessment, which we call our sequential intercept map, where we're able to look at our law enforcement, our courts, our jail, and our public health and safety system here in the county to assess what our needs might be. So the top health priority in the 2018 I-Plan is behavioral health. Both mental health and substance abuse fall under the behavioral health category. And one of the most concerning statistics to me is that Illinois averages 530 people to every 1 mental health provider. However, in Boone County, it's 5,900 people to every 1 mental health provider. So we are actually one of the counties with the least amount of access for our constituents to have access to mental health and behavioral health and substance abuse services. So it's very, very important that we have identified this, and now we need to work to solve it. So I did want to ask Tricia Smith, our state's attorney, just to make a few comments on how the work of the Behavioral Health Task Force is going. We have many partners, probation, courts, jail, sheriff, Belvidere Police and Fire, both school districts, all 3 health systems, health department, county admin, Rosecrans, Remedies, and many other folks sitting around the table working to solve those concerns. So,
thank you, Amanda. As Amanda just listed, there are several entities, both public and private, that sit at the table, and we meet once a month, and we have great participation from all those people to come up with a plan like Amanda was describing. And our goal is to apply for grants that will help lower that statistic that Amanda gave regarding services to mental health in our community. And the goal is hopefully to have an impact, at least for I can see, on our criminal justice system, that if we can get people help, that they won't commit crimes or recommit or commit crimes again and get into our system. And the goal is to hopefully, the costs are so much less instead of incarceration, as we all know from looking at budget and how much the jail costs the county, et cetera. So we have a great group of people that are doing this, and again, the goal is to get hopefully a significant grant that can bring those services into the community, and again, hopefully provide those services to our community members, and again, have an impact on our budget, and I guess just make overall health better here in Boone County. So it's a very worthwhile project, and again, we hope to see very good results from all the hard work.
So Boone County has the third highest drug arrest rate in the state of Illinois, which is good in the sense that we have fantastic law enforcement, but also a challenge in the fact that we know that we have a concern with substance misuse and abuse. And so it's very important that we do continue to do this work. So domain 7 is the last one that I'll highlight. I won't go through all 12 because that would take a while. And that's access to care. So it is almost flu season, and flu shots are available at the Boone County Health Department for individuals 6 months through as old as an individual would be. And we're offering those to the community, to the public. We have some free flu vaccine available for folks that are uninsured or do not have the resources to purchase a flu shot. We are vaccinating Boone County employees as part of our insurance plan, and we'll be setting up clinics around the county in the upcoming months. We're actually already seeing cases of flu, and I'll be real honest, this is a little early for that, so it'll be interesting to see what that bodes for this year's flu season, but we've already had reports from our local providers that people have the flu. We are also working on Hunger Action Month activities for the month of September. On Friday, September 28th, if any county board member would like to join teams of my staff who will be doing 2-hour shifts at the Northern Illinois Food Bank, located in the southernmost part of Rockford is where their main hub is. They serve 13 counties, and Boone County is one of them. I believe I mentioned this a few months back at a board meeting, but they service about 70,000 individuals every single week in 13 counties. So we have a lot of need. We have a lot of folks that are using SNAP benefits and are food insecure. 31% of our families here in Boone County utilize SNAP benefits, and 11% of Boone County families are food insecure, so they don't know where their next meal is coming from. 22.6% of children are food insecure, so that number is even higher. So that's what we're working on in our department, and if you all would like to come out and volunteer on the 28th, we'd be more than happy to have you join one of our teams. Are there any questions?
Questions? Ms. Kieske?
Well, I actually had one question, but I actually just today read an article about something, I think it's called the Phoenix, and it is creating free workout centers or exercise facilities for the addicted, and it can, any addiction. And there are grants available, and they've already proven, this addictive behavior can, glom onto exercise. So anyhow, if you're looking for grants, they're looking for more places to do this. I will forward you some information if you're interested.
That'd be great.
Mr. Newhouse?
Every year I debate whether to get a flu vaccine or not. So if the flu is here already, are we confident that whoever's creating the vaccine has got the correct strains this year?
So it's a little early to tell exactly what this flu season will bring. The tricky part is that the leaders of the world, and I do mean the world when I say the world, get together in February. So the World Health Organization, the Centers for Disease Control, and several other, National Institute of Health, several other leading world organizations, and they try to predict what we're going to see in the fall of the same year. So that's a little tricky. We do have quadrivalent vaccine, which protects against 2 strains of influenza A and 2 strains of influenza B. Some years they get it really right. Some years it's not quite as strong as it could be. But any amount of protection is better than no protection, because we do see folks who get a milder case of the flu. They have less severe symptoms, and it's less life-threatening for immunocompromised individuals or individuals that have other health infections that would cause the flu to be more dangerous to their health. So I'll be getting my flu shot probably this week or next week. It takes 2 weeks to build up any type of protection. So I would recommend getting it early, because we are seeing a lot of flu. If you're going to be visiting any family over the holidays, grandparents, grandchildren, other folks that might have health issues, it's extremely important, whether it's for you or for the people around you, because if you're healthy and you might do just fine with the flu for a couple days and then you'll be back on your feet, it's very life-threatening for people around you who don't have the same status of health. So.
One more?
Mr. Newhouse?
I think you stated earlier that 63 counties have tested positive for West Nile virus. Is that correct?
68.
68. Could you just offhand, maybe not the perfect number, but how does that compare with last year?
In 2017, we had 61 counties that were positive.
Thank you.
Anything further? Mrs. Branson?
It has been my experience that this year, though, when it comes to the mosquitoes, they pretty much laugh at using DEET. It just isn't working. Can you recommend any other product?
Well, what we recommend is that people use DEET products at least a 23% strength. That's what the CDC recommends. Unfortunately, over the last week, it doesn't really seem to matter how much you spray on you. Like I said, I can't even water my flowers without getting bitten. So it's been a tough week at least. Long sleeves are always good, keeping those screens and windows closed. There's not much to do other than wait for the rains and the seasons to change a little bit. So.
Yeah, 'cause I've been using 100% DEET, and it's doing nothing.
Yeah.
Ms. Milner?
I spoke to a local pharmacist technician when I was picking up some things, and I asked them about Narcan. And they said that they had a policy in their pharmacy not to discuss Narcan, that the only one authorized to discuss it in their pharmacy was the actual pharmacist. Like, none of the technicians or clerks were allowed to discuss it at all. And I said, well, were you aware that the health department offers training and is giving away doses of this to the general public, to those of us who are the laymen, untrained? We go through a seminar and we get a dose of this because Boone County has a problem. They're like, oh yeah, we know Boone County has a problem. And I said, this is what the health department is doing about it. Have you got any kind of mechanism in place to start maybe talking to the pharmacies in town? Do you see that as something that would help?
Yeah, that's a great idea. I actually have not specifically addressed that with the pharmacies. Maybe what they're not aware of is that the medical director of the state health department issued a standing order about a year and a half ago to allow for these types of trainings to take place so that we could save people's lives. So the standing order allows non-medical and non-clinical folks to administer Narcan if and when necessary. There aren't any proven research-based negative effects if you administer it to someone who is actually not overdosing. It is safe to administer to someone, so if you think that someone is overdosing, it's okay. So I would be more than happy to reach out to the pharmacists in the area.
Yeah, I sat through the training. I thought it was a great idea, and I was surprised by their response. They seemed very guarded and not very communicative.
Thank you.
Further questions for the health department? One clarification for you, Amanda. You mentioned that you'll be at the Northern Illinois Food Bank on the 28th of this month?
Yes.
Okay, so September 28th. And what times?
There is a 7 to 9, a 9 to 11, a 1 to 3, and a 3 to 5 shift, I believe.
Okay.
I'd be more than happy to send the flyer out or have it uploaded on Board Docs so that you all could have access to that.
That would be wonderful.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Anything further? Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Next up is Regional Planning Council. Unfortunately, I know that I was called away and could not attend that meeting, and I think, Ken, you were also tied up at another meeting. Or did you attend that one? Oh, that was the one you were at. Okay. So do you want to fill us in?
Sure. As I reported to the Health Committee, the Region 1 Planning Council received a grant to investigate the pros and cons of forming a land bank. And this idea seems to be taking a little form. We will receive a proposal in the form of an intergovernmental agreement to go to our committees to see if Boone County would want to be part of the land bank. And in one sentence, they take properties that are empty, foreclosed, not really providing any benefit to the community, and get them back on the market with a buyer and paying taxes again. So stay tuned. It looks very interesting. It'll come back through committees.
Any questions? Next up, I would accept a motion to approve the general consents items.
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Kieske, seconded by Mr. Stark. I do want to point out a couple of things on here. First off, under the raffle permits, we have two raffles, one from the American Legion. We have a representative from the American Legion here for their raffle as required by statute, because a raffle is going to exceed a certain amount. And we also have a representative here from United Way. I talked to both gentlemen, and neither one has a burning desire to address us, but if you have questions for them, they would be more than happy to answer. I see no questions. Gentlemen, you're off the hook tonight. Next up, as always, I would just like to point out the donations that we have. These are all for animal services. From Vicki Spradling, from Bruce and Sharon Hokeman, from Nick Yamamoto, from Margie Carlson, from Candlewick Lake, and from Maxine Bokenauer. I hope I didn't butcher a couple of those names too bad. But thank you very much for your donations. We appreciate your support to Animal Services. With that, any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Standing committees. PZB, Mr. Ellingson.
Thank you. We'll start with 9.1, a motion to approve ordinance 18-21, which is the case number 14-2018 of Terra Navigator LLC. The applicant, Terra Navigator LLC of 888 Prospect Street, Suite 200, La Jolla, California, is requesting a special use permit pursuant to Section 2.7 of Special Uses and Section 3.16.1, Table of Permitted Uses of the Boone County Zoning Ordinance to allow for the operation of energy facility, 1 megawatt or greater, commonly known as the solar energy development. The subject property is located in unincorporated Belvidere Township, Boone County, Illinois, on 34 acres. Pins are at 05-14-200-003 and 05-14-200-006 and 05-14-100-015. And it's passed all councils that's come before with a 3-2 vote at PZB.
Motion by Mr. Ellingson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Branson. Discussion. Staff, any comments? Yes, Mr. Turner.
I just would like to point out at the PZB there was some, maybe misunderstanding about the site plan and whether the county had received one. We did, in fact, receive the site plan, and we just did not get it forwarded to us from the consultant for that evening. So the actual site plan is on board docs, and we do have it, and it contains the information that we would need for that plan. Just a point of clarification.
Okay. Further discussion. Mr. Newhouse.
If I could get some clarification from the applicant on the decommissioning. As I'm looking at the estimated decommissioning costs on page 2 of that document, there are permitting costs, labor costs, loan, seed, and fill costs, equipment and shipping costs, and those all add to the total net cost. I believe I'm seeing that as a scrap value on the estimation of all this, that there is a factor that will go against that. So my question to the applicant is there a general assumption that 25 years from now or 30 years from now, whenever this is decommissioned, that there will be this $93,000 value for the panels?
That's a question for the applicant.
Yes.
If you'd like to come join us. If you could, please just state your name and address for the record. Sure. We need you to. And please, you got to talk real close into that.
My name is Christian Dick. I'm the Senior Director of Project Development for Terra Navigator. My address is 888 Prospect Street in La Jolla, California. If I'm correct, the question is the stated value of the $93,000 for, sorry, I can't read this, so I'm going a little bit on your word. The $93,000 associated with the panels, is that correct?
There is a total scrap value, which is in parentheses, in amongst all the costs. Since it is in parentheses, I'm assuming it is not considered a cost, but a value to be subtracted from the total cost.
Okay, and you would reference page 2. This is page 5. Are we looking at the right?
Okay. I'm about 4 items down on my
This is what he's looking at.
material
Okay.
for your project, and it's called the decommissioning.pdf.
Sure.
Oh,
So-
Ken has it there.
Okay, so this report was submitted for a different project as representation of the type of report that can be done. It was done just by chance by the same consultant that the county is using for the management of the site. But they have done this report for a like project in Massachusetts that was in 2016. So what they are implying here is the recyclable value of the glass and the equipment, copper and metals that are in each of the panels has a recyclable value estimated at $93,000.
Okay.
Does that answer the question?
We're getting closer to my question. And I can understand and appreciate the steel, the electric wiring, and those items that are traditionally considered reusable in the scrap systems. But what I'm getting at is, in your estimation, is their value being given to the panels at that time? Or are they considered a deduct from the total cost, or are they considered part of the cost for decommissioning?
No, so they would be a value that the contractor who removes the system would be able to reclaim themselves for all of the recycled material. The cost of the decommissioning report would be associated with all of the labor hours, equipment, materials for them to conduct those efforts. So they are separate, is my answer to your question.
Is there an assumption that there is value to the panels at that time?
Oh, absolutely.
That's on page 5.
That is implied in the recyclable value of the steel, copper, aluminum, glass, high voltage equipment that's in the project that will be taken away and recycled and repurposed.
Ms. Milner?
If you roll the paragraph, roll this frame down, the paragraph above just above the box gives a little, just above the box of the estimated decommissioning cost. It says how they estimated the change in the cost of labor and the change in the cost of the recaptured value of the recyclable goods. It's just a future cost is based on a 2.5% annual escalator, compound amount factor. It's just some sort of generally approved mathematical formula to estimate that the cost of this will appreciate.
Yeah, so, sorry, it's back on page 2, just above the chart that we were looking at.
Just math.
Yeah, sorry, just, yeah, keep going, and then on the very, this paragraph that is right here, above the chart.
Right there.
There you go.
That one that starts with schedule.
Down a little bit.
It's the paragraph right above the box.
Crew of 8, average labor cost, using the prevailing wage. Future cost, 2.5% annual escalator compound amount factor for the expected 25-year useful life of the system. It just tells you how they estimated the cost change.
Okay, further questions? Mr. Newhouse?
Yeah, I'm getting close here. So, based on the scrap value with the 93,000 in parentheses, and based on the escalator in the paragraph above it, am I, as a board member, to assume that the glass panels are going to be more valuable 30 years from now than they are today?
Yes.
Can we speculate on the market for them? Who will take them? What will be the value of them? Or who is going to determine that value? Because I'm just, in my simplistic way of looking at things, I'm assuming that the lifespan of these will have been mostly, if not totally used up 30 years from now, and there will not be value in them, but there will be a cost of disposing them.
Sure. I guess the clean and simple answer I would give you is that the issue of what the scrap value is based upon the recyclable materials of glass, steel, aluminum, copper, and equipment that is in the module. That will not go away even if the module was not producing.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you on the steel and the aluminum and the copper and those things that are traditionally reusable. I'm probably going to disagree with you on the glass. I would reference what's going on in other countries with solar panels that are being decommissioned, and they are finding it very difficult to remove them and find a place for them because there is no value for them.
Okay.
Further discussion? I do have one question for staff, and I apologize if this is incorrect. I've been to enough of these meetings and other meetings here recently that I may have this one mixed up with another one. But did the ZBA not change the decommissioning on the proposal to a 100%?
They did, but
upfront?
at the committee level, I raised that issue, and the committee changed it back to what you, the county board, have done.
Okay, so the committee did, okay.
Yes.
There's been a lot of those back and forth, so I wanted to make sure that we knew what we were voting on and we had the correct thing that was put forward to be voting on. So in this one, the decommissioning plan is 10% at the start, I believe, 50% by year 6 anniversary, and 100% by year 10 anniversary, correct? Or 11? Okay. That is correct, right, Ken?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Any further questions? Mr. Ellingson.
I've just got a comment that I just want to make sure everybody's aware that, as was said in this motion, that this is operation that's on 34 acres. It doesn't mean it will be 34 acres of solar panels or $34 of taxes. It'll be whatever ends up when the project is done. I just want to make sure everybody's aware that it could be 16, it could be 25, it could be 30.
Okay. Any further questions for the applicant? Would the applicant like to make any other statements? Okay. I'll ask for one last time for any comments from the board. Mr. Larson, Mr. Ray Larson.
Yes, I voted opposing this in committee based on the fact we have other applicants. We already approved their special use permits with greater setbacks from residential property lines. This one is going back to what's in our current county code, which is only 40 feet. And that wasn't intended, I don't believe, for citing, 10, 20, 300-acre solar fields next to residences. If anyone would like to increase, I think we're looking at 100 feet from a existing residential property line for our special use. I believe the applicant also stated they can't utilize within 100 feet of this residential property line. I don't know why it's purposely being left out of keeping it that distance. If anyone would like to make a motion to have that 100 feet from the existing residential property line, I'd support it. And if that passed by the board, I would then support this special use as a whole, but as it stands, I will have to vote no for it.
Thank you. Further comments from the board? I just want to make one quick statement. I think this is an excellent spot for this type of use. It gets some money out of an eyesore, the landfill that we've paid on and paid on and paid on, and those of us that have been on the board for a long time, we've paid on, it seems, over and over and over again. It's kind of like the mosquito population now. It just won't go away. So I think this is an excellent opportunity for us to move forward as a county. So with that, roll call, please.
Sherry Branson,
Yes.
Denny Ellingson,
No.
Sherry Gieske,
Yes.
Carl Larson,
Yes.
Ray Larson,
No.
Jessica Milner,
Yes.
Marshall Newhouse,
No.
Bernard O'Malley,
Yes.
Brad Stark,
Yes.
Kathy Ward,
Yes.
Carl Johnson.
Yes. Motion carries. Mr. Ellingson, anything further?
That is all. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Finance, Ms. Gieske.
Item 10.1 is a motion to approve claims with the understanding that Carl Johnson abstains from voting on all claims presented by William Charles and Associates, and Denny Ellingson abstains from voting on all claims presented by Conserv FS. This was approved 5-0 in committee.
Motion by Ms. Gieske. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Milner. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Denny Ellingson,
Yes.
Sherry Gieske,
Yes.
Carl Larson,
Yes.
Ray Larson,
Aye.
Jessica Milner,
Yes.
Marshall Newhouse,
Yep.
Bernard O'Malley,
Yes.
Brad Stark,
Yes.
Kathy Ward,
Yes.
Carl Johnson,
Yes.
Sherry Branson.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Item 10.2 is a motion to approve, a motion to approve ordinance 18-20, authorizing the use of public safety sales tax revenues for jail-related operations.
Motion by Ms. Gieske. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Milner. Any discussion? Ms. Ward.
Yes, I have voted no on this before. I will continue to vote no. The jail will now be paid off with our December payment, and that was the promise, although I know and I've heard it before that it wasn't in writing. It was what was told, it was promised to our people that it would end when the jail was paid off, and that will be in December. And I checked with Ken, and we do have the money currently to pay that off, so that will all happen. We don't need to use this. If you will look at the numbers on the chart, you can see that in previous boards, we did understand that there were times we needed to use it, and we did, but our intention was to make it decrease. If you notice the numbers that we have on there, we had gotten down to 200 by the year 2015, and now we intend to use all $1.5 million of that money again. So I do not support this, and I will not support this.
Thank you. Anyone else? Ms. Milner.
As a relative newcomer to the board, I'm not racked with the same level of discomfort about these funds, their purpose, and I think that the public is mostly very clear about this. They understand that the purpose of this tax and these funds is for public safety, and there is no doubt in anyone's minds who is paying attention to the budget of this county that public safety funds are desperately needed. So I have no problem at all putting these funds exactly where they belong in our public safety budget. Thank you.
Mr. O'Malley.
I got a printout of the sheriff's department wages for the entire thing at the courthouse, and it's $9.8 million. You will not be able to pay these wages if you don't use this money. There's no way.
Mr. Stark.
I think that's a good point to bring up, Mr. O'Malley, that what is the consequences to not using this money? I mean, we can all get on a soapbox here and say we don't want to do it because someone made promises 20-some years ago that nobody remembers. But then what's your alternative? Who's going to go down there and tell whomever that services are not going to be rendered now, there's not going to be people there to protect everyone in this county? Who's going to make those? I mean, do we know what the real consequences are of not using it?
Anything further? Roll call, please.
Sherry Giesky,
Yes.
Carl Larson,
Yes.
Ray Larson,
Aye.
Jessica Mulner,
Yes.
Marshall Newhouse,
Yes.
Bernard O'Malley,
Yes.
Brad Stark,
Yes.
Kathy Ward,
No.
Carl Johnson,
Yes.
Sherry Branson,
No.
Denny Ellingson.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Item 10.3 is a motion to approve a credit card application for the supervisor of assessments.
Motion by Ms. Giesky. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. O'Malley. Discussion. I think just to point out, as I recall, just per our protocols, these come before the board and the finance committee just whenever a department head gets a credit card, it's used for their internal needs for daily purchases on supplies. So nothing different here between any other department that we have. With that, roll call, please.
Carl Larson,
Yes.
Ray Larson,
Aye.
Jessica Mulner,
Yes.
Marshall Newhouse,
Yes.
Bernard O'Malley,
Yes.
Brad Stark,
Yes.
Kathy Ward,
Yes.
Carl Johnson,
Yes.
Sherry Branson,
Yes.
Denny Ellingson,
Yes.
Sherry Giesky.
Yes.
Motion carries. Ms. Giesky, anything else?
Nope, that's it for finance. Thank you.
Thank you. Roads.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. 11.1, motion to approve low quote from J. Gosnell and Son for replacement of courthouse steps in the amount of $4,780. This was not budgeted. The steps have deteriorated to a point where they're unsafe, and hence why this has been brought forward.
Second. Second.
Motion by Mr. Stark, seconded by Ms. Ward. Any discussion? I have one. Mr. Terranoni, do you know what my question is going to be? Since it's not budgeted,
Yes.
where are the funds coming from?
It comes out of the reserve capital account we have for repairs and maintenance. It's Fund 22, the maintenance fund.
Okay,
So
and there's plenty of money there?
there's enough to cover this there, yes.
I thought I'd catch you there. Okay, thank you. Any other discussion? Mr. Newhouse.
See the picture up there, and I can place those steps dead center in front of the main opening. Are the steps used at all in front of the state's attorney's office, or are they mostly blocked off and not used? In what kind of shape, or are those the next steps, or what are we talking about there?
Those are mainly used by my office staff, and then when we have juries, the jurors do come through there. I would say they're in pretty good shape at this point, so I don't think we should have any issues.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Roll call, please.
Ray Larson,
Aye.
Jessica Mulner,
Yes.
Marshall Newhouse,
Yes.
Bernard O'Malley,
Yes.
Brad Stark,
Yes.
Kathy Ward,
Yes.
Carl Johnson,
Yes.
Sherry Branson,
Yes.
Denny Ellingson,
Yes.
Sherry Giesky,
Yes.
Carl Larson.
Yes.
Motion carries. Mr. Stark, anything further?
That is all we have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Health and Human Services. That would be Mr. Carlisle. He is not here, so
I am his substitute today.
there you go. Mr. O'Malley.
This is motion 12.1. It's a motion to approve the ordinance 18-22 to increase the impound fees in dog adoption fees. It was approved in committee 5-0.
Second.
Motion by Mr. O'Malley, seconded by Ms. Ward. Discussion. Ms. Ward.
Yes. Well, normally I'm not in favor of raising fees because I think our taxpayers are already footing the bill to make this happen. And in this particular department, this is a department that gets a lot of donations and almost operates on its own by the fees that it has. But this one I will agree to, but I would like to add that all the counties surrounding us at this time, the health department helps supplement the animal services, because of course, animal services does things that are related to good health for the people in this county. So I'm hoping that in the future, the health department will find money that they can also assist our animal services department.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Ms. Milner?
I don't know if this is an appropriate time to bring up, as Mr. Tressimer is here tonight, maybe we should, as a board, thank him for 10 years of service to the county.
Thank you very much. Anything further? Roll call, please.
Jessica Mueller,
Here. Yes.
Marshall Newhouse,
Yes.
All that.
Bernard O'Malley,
Yes.
Brad Stark,
No.
Kathy Ward,
Yes.
Carl Johnson,
Yes.
Sherry Branson,
Yes.
Denny Ellingson,
Yes.
Sherry Gieske,
Yes.
Carl Larson,
Yes.
Ray Larson.
Aye.
Motion carries. Mr. Malley, anything else you want to point out
That
to us?
is all.
Thank you, sir. Admin.
Mr.
Newhouse.
Chairman, I would move to approve ordinance 18-19, amending the Boone County Liquor Code by allowing corporations, LLCs, and sole proprietorships to apply for a beer and/or wine special events license.
Motion by Mr. Newhouse. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Gieske. Our state's attorney is reaching for her microphone, so I will yield the floor to her.
Unless Mr. Newhouse wanted to comment.
I'll give a very short introduction in that we had one of our fine businesses in Boone County express some concern about the hoops that business has to jump through, where it has always been non-for-profits, and she is a business that is for-profit. And so she brought this idea before the committee, and so we began looking at how we might be able to amend the language. As you can see on, hopefully, your desk, each one of you has a piece of paper with this proposed ordinance with 2 items on it, where the state's attorney's been doing her homework and found out that we have missed a couple items. So with that, Tricia.
Thank you. Just one of the issues that had come up was whether we could expand it from beer and wine, which is what our ordinance says, to the general term of liquor, to include hard spirits. And that if the board determined to do that, that would be in alignment with the state code. So that would be, again, your determination whether you wanted to make that change. In addition, from the discussion at the committee level, there was some talk whether we should expand it from corporations to other forms of business entities. And the state code, again, talks about sole proprietorships and also partnerships, which we did not discuss at the committee level. But there was some talk whether we could expand that. And again, if you wanted to add those 2 entities, you would be in compliance with the state statute. The one condition is that if you are a sole proprietorship and applying for a liquor license, the business owner must reside here within our county. That's required by the state. And I guess the only comment about that is that in our code as it sits now, when you talk about a non-for-profit corporation, it says if it's in good standing with the state of Illinois. We can check that with corporations because they have to file with the Secretary of State. There's an easy database that we can put a name in and determine if they're in compliance with the state of Illinois. If you do add sole proprietorships and partnerships, there's not that database to check that requirement. And again, I'm not saying that that's right or wrong to include them or not, but if the board's looking for a easy way to check if those businesses are in compliance with the state of Illinois, we just don't have that ability because of how they're registered versus corporations. But again, they are allowed to get a liquor license at the state level, so the state feels comfortable giving liquor license to those entities. So just to give you some options if you wanted to add those to your ordinance.
Discussion? Mr. Newhouse.
Recognizing this should have been done at committee, but we did not get that done. I would admit that, again, this is committee work and it could go back to committee, or if the board is comfortable with matching what the state already has, then I think we're safe in matching what the state has, but I would leave that up to the board. If they're interested, this could be amended to include these three entities.
Ms. Kieske.
I would like to amend the motion to remove the terms beer and wine and place the word liquor. And I don't know if we want to list, in addition to not-for-profit and profit corporations, including sole proprietorships and partnerships, or can we just do something that says consistent with the state of Illinois statute?
I would actually, in this situation, list the sole proprietorship and partnership, because there's other categories that I don't think are applicable to what you're trying to do on the state liquor license.
Are you making one amendment or two?
I would say just one amendment
Just one
that has
with
both
those
changes.
So I want to go back, strike the consistent with the state of Illinois, and just include sole proprietorships and partnerships.
I would second that.
We have a motion by Ms. Kieske, a second by Mr. O'Malley to amend the motion. Any discussion on the amendments? Mr. Newhouse.
As I read the sentence, the state's attorney has supplied it, the categories are sole proprietorship, partnerships, Illinois foreign corporations, and limited liability corporations. Is that a third one, or am I reading that incorrectly?
I think that the state takes for-profit corporations and splits it into two, Illinois corporations and foreign corporations. So that's why there's 5 listed versus the 4 here. So I would actually list the 5 as they're written.
Is that your intent, Ms. Kieske?
Yes.
Was that your
I didn't know if we
intent
wanted to
on your
include-
second, Mr. O'Malley? Mr. Ellingson.
Yeah, I guess I'm just curious then, so you are including in it the Illinois and foreign corporations and limited liability corporations in the motion?
Is that correct, Ms. Kieske?
I think so.
That is correct.
Okay, if that is so, I will not vote for it because I don't understand why we would do it, you know, on those last couple. The first 2 that were mentioned in the original motion, I could maybe see, but foreign corporations, I don't understand why we would do that.
Well, foreign corporation could be a business that is located here, but it happens to be registered in Indiana, or, I mean, it doesn't have to necessarily be, just for clarification, it doesn't necessarily mean a foreign country.
It could be, but not
It could be,
necessarily.
yes.
Mr. Newhouse?
Does foreign, just from what you said, I didn't hear all of it, but does foreign mean another state and or another county within the state of Illinois, or just outside of the state of Illinois?
It could be outside the state of Illinois.
Okay.
Any further discussion on the amendment? Does everybody understand the amendment we are voting on? All those in favor of the amendment, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
The ayes have it. The motion is amended. Any further discussion on the motion as a whole, as amended? No further discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
The ayes have it. Motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, I would move to approve the 2019 holiday schedule.
Motion by Mr. Newhouse. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Milner. Discussion. No discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, I would move to approve the MPO cooperation agreement between Boone County and the Rockford Metropolitan Agency for Planning, subject to final review by the state's attorney and county administrator.
Motion by Mr. Newhouse. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Carl Larson. Discussion. Mr. Newhouse.
It's been a long-term relationship, and I would like to continue it.
Any further discussion? All in favor say, this is a roll call. Roll call, please.
Marshall Newhouse.
Yes.
Bernard O'Malley.
Yes.
Brad Stark.
Yes.
Kathy Ward.
Yes.
Carl Johnson.
Yes.
Sherry Branson.
Yes.
Denny Ellingson.
Yes.
Sherry Gieske.
Yes.
Carl Larson.
Yes.
Ray Larson,
Aye.
Jessica Mulner.
Yes.
Motion carries. Mr. Newhouse.
Mr. Chairman, no further motions from administrative.
Okay.
I just have
Ms.
a question.
Ward?
Do we know how much that will cost on that last motion?
Mr. Terranova?
My recollection for the MPO membership is about $8,300 a year. And in addition to that, there's the EDNI membership, which is the grant writing part, which is about the same, $8,000 and change.
Thank you. Any further questions? Okay. City County, Ms. Ward, anything? I see no motions.
I don't have
Anything
any
you?
motions, but I would like to add just a couple things, if I may, sir.
Certainly.
We learned from the city that they are nearing final approval for a solar farm on city property. They've had many requests, and this one is almost ready to be approved, and it's in Spencer Park. I don't know how many acres it's going to be or exactly how many panels or whatever, but they are had several requests as well. And then the second thing is, at our next meeting, we plan to have someone there to discuss land banks, which I think many of you know about as well, which sounds like a good idea. We don't know all the details, and that's what we want to find out about, where they're going to try in Winnebago County as well as here in Boone County to do something about the dilapidated buildings and the vacant buildings that are in many cases, increasing. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Public Safety. Mr. Larson, I see no motions. Anything you'd like to share?
No motions, nothing to share today.
Thank you, sir. Community Building.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. We are meeting tomorrow, and I think I told you last time that it's delightful to be able to work with a group that actually has some money to spend. We are going to be talking with the city. We have several ideas that we would like to use this money for, and one of them is a long-standing thing to improve the Riverwalk along what we think is a very wonderful asset to our county. So I'm hoping that we can start working on that quite soon.
Thank you very much. UCCI, Ken?
Just pleased to comment on the D.C. trip that was sponsored by UCCI. It was really very fascinating. We had many reports by different federal agencies. That was very, very enlightening. So I think time well spent.
Absolutely. I think it just for board members' information, Ken and I are going to compare our notes and write up some bullet points and some observations that we had from those meetings we had. It was very, very interesting to actually have the administration take a concern of a local, of what happens locally in communities rather than at the higher up. They wanted to hear what our issues were and what our needs are, and on top of that, gave us a list of contacts of people in federal agencies that are contacts for us to get in touch with. And I'm hoping that one in particular will be very useful to our highway department. So I think it was definitely time very well spent. Community Action Agency.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we meet tomorrow. An interesting observation from one of the members there. They don't want to just teach people to fish or give them a fish. And they not only want to teach them to fish, they want to stock the pond. And I thought that was such a good observation of what that group is really trying to do. The budget that we're looking at right now, I think I mentioned before, is $15 million, and that is money that is used to help just a variety of people with a variety of very basic needs. But we meet again tomorrow to discuss that as well.
Thank you very much. 911, Mr. Newhouse.
Since the 911 portion of the public safety has been improving the system, the new improved system will be a thing called Ninja. One of the things that has always been assumed is that the iFiber could handle the information, and there's been some difficulties there. So I guess one of the items that came out last month is that iFiber is now pursuing the correct certification to handle all the information. And there's, of course, speculation that there will be those that would oppose this, primarily Verizon. There's always the potential for a fight there, but at any rate, there's movement forward so that this can continue.
Sounds like more governmental red tape.
And that was from 29 days ago, so maybe Ken or the state's attorney has new information since then. So That's the best I can give you today.
Well, I'm a member of the iFiber board, and we did take a straw vote to determine whether we would want to pursue what's called CLEC status, and our board did decide to go ahead and look into that. So, and it's got many, many steps. It'll be a bit of a journey, but at least our board has come around to the idea that we ought to be helping this ninja group, and the iFiber is a resource, and it should be used for public safety. So, but getting to that point will be somewhat of a challenge, and we could be challenged by Frontier, is really the one that caused all this with their filing a complaint against the arrangement between Ninja and their consultant. It's all very complicated, but I believe our board is moving in the right direction on it.
Ken, are these all state approvals that are needed, or state licenses that are needed, or are these federal?
State, to my knowledge, state, Illinois Commerce Commission.
Is there anything we can do to pressure our local representation, not just ourselves, but all the others that are the conglomerate of this Ninja project, to hurry this along? We've spent money, we've invested time, which is money, into this, and we're sitting dead in the water because we've got somebody that doesn't like the toys we brought to the sandbox.
Fortunately, it falls under the authority of the Illinois Commerce Commission. So to get the CLEC status, you got to go through all their various hoops, and whether or not anybody, like legislators or anyone, can, speed that along, I'm not sure. So I guess I don't really know the answer at that point.
Can we try and do some investigating, and if at any point we think that will help, I would encourage this board to authorize letters, phone calls, foot stomping, breath holding, whatever it takes to get these people moving along. We've been talking about Ninja for 5 years or longer, and it's been in the process of implementing for 2 or 3 years, maybe 4 years. I don't know. It's been a long time. So I just think it's ludicrous.
I could just say, in their defense, they were basically, Verizon stepped in and sued them. Frontier sued them to stop their progress. So it's not necessarily Ninja's fault that things didn't move forward.
Nor
I
iFiber.
I understand that
Yeah.
it's not Ninja's fault necessarily that this is all taking time, but we've got all this bureaucratic red tape that's holding things up, because it's holding up progress, because Frontier, in this case, doesn't like the fact that we're not subservient to them. We can go somewhere else. Now, if Frontier had offered a viable product at a more competitive price, then we could have been still doing business with them. But
I'm not disagreeing. I'm just saying that part of the process is it's been caught in the administrative law judge realm for a long period of time.
Too long to be in the bureaucrats' hands. So
And it's
anything
gonna continue to be,
anything we can do, if there's anything we can do to push it along, I'm all for doing it. Mr. Newhouse.
Just to answer your question, it would be nice if we were at the head of the table, but we're not at the head of the table. So, as you say, either holding our breath or foot stomping, writing letters, I don't know, but we are at the behest of a lot of other people and entities who are fighting this.
Super. Thank you. Any other committees? Mr. O'Malley.
We had a Veterans Assistant Commission meeting. They are now giving out more money than they're collecting. They're actually fulfilling their mission quite well. They're giving out almost $15,000 a month in assistance, and they're actually running a little negative in their budget, so they're going down. They still have a reserve of somewhere between 150 to 200,000. They couldn't give us an exact number. I think it's 200,000. So they're still okay.
Okay. Anything further? All right. Scheduling of committees. Ms. Gieske.
The next regularly scheduled Finance Committee will be held on Tuesday, October 9th at 6 p.m., but we also have a series of special Finance Committee meetings, the first of which is September 27th at 6 p.m., October 2nd at 6:45 PM, right after the roads meeting. October 11th at 6 PM, and October 15th at 6 PM. I would encourage all of my colleagues on the board to attend at least those last one or the other of those last two, which will be talking about the overall picture of the budget before we bring it to the board.
Thank you, Ms. Kieske. Mr. Larson.
The next Public Safety Committee meeting will be October 8th at 6 PM in this room.
Thank you. PZB, Mr. Ellingson.
The next BZB meeting will be Wednesday, October 3rd, in this room at 6 PM. And as far as the ZBA meetings, I'll let Mr. Terranoni share those if he would.
The ZBA, upon request, has agreed to meet twice a month due to the number of solar applicants. So their next meeting will be a special meeting on Tuesday, October 16th, and then the regular meeting would be Tuesday, October 23rd.
Mr. Newhouse.
Admin will be Monday, October 1st, 6 PM.
Ms. Ward.
City County will be Wednesday, October 10th at 6 PM.
Mr. O'Malley. You're on the spot.
Not ready for that one.
Can we help Mr. O'Malley at all?
Thursday,
at
October
10.
4th.
We're going to go with that anyway. Mr. Stark.
Roads and Capital will meet in this room on October 2nd, 6 PM, this room.
Super. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Ms. Ward.
There was one thing that I mentioned to our chairman before the meeting, and if you've looked at the calendars ahead, our November meeting is scheduled to be the night before Thanksgiving. In the past, what we've many times done is change that meeting and consolidated a few other ones to make it a week ahead of that. And Mr. Terranoni was pointing out to me that it's very likely we will have several solar groups coming, and it might be very difficult to make that the night before Thanksgiving, but that's up to the board and how you want to schedule that meeting.
Looking at that, perhaps if nothing else, we can move it ahead in the week.
Or the previous week even, whatever. Okay.
We'll have to look at that. Can we, Mr. Terranoni?
Move it back at least 2 days, like Monday the 19th.
That's what I mean, move it, to the earlier in that particular week, or even at the end of the week before or something. We'll investigate that and then get that to committees and to board members as soon as possible. Any other unfinished business? Mr. Newhouse.
Just a question that came to mind earlier this evening. Boone County seems to be the recipient of some very generous citizens. They've been making donations, and this particular month it was to the animal facility. My assumption is that along with donations of cash, that there have been donations of time and labor to the state's attorney. Have we ever looked into, is there ever any liability when people just donate time and efforts, or are we covered insurance-wise in any of those types of activities?
Mr. Terranoni.
You are covered for volunteer work through your GL policies.
That makes me feel better. Thank you.
Any other unfinished business? Any new business, Ken?
No.
Any informational items that you want to point out?
We wrote a letter to our legislators about the prevailing wage laws, and you received a very excellent response from Representative Sosnowski. So at your leisure, please take a look at that. It was they put quite an effort into responding to our concerns.
Okay. Any reason to have executive session? That moves us down the list to one last item.
I move to adjourn. Second.
Motion by Mr. Ellingson, seconded by Mr. Stark. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.